What's up guys, welcome back to another mock draft. In today's video, we'll be drafting for the Los Angeles Rams. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Holding 11 picks in the draft, tied for the most in the leagues this year, the Rams have silenced any doubters who thought they were going through a rebuild by barging into the playoffs last season. There are, however, multiple areas on the roster that can be improved by less need in the front office to help ascend this team even further. So let's dive right in. With their first round pick since Jared Goff back in 2016, I've got the Rams selecting defensive end Laiatu Latu from UCLA. The retirement of Aaron Donald has left an immense void on the defense, which is why Latu is a perfect candidate to pair with promising players such as Byron Young and Kobe Turner and help them continue to thrive. At 6'5", 259, the California native has been the country's most productive pass rusher the past 2 seasons, recording a pass rush win rate of 23.1% that resulted in 23.5 sacks during that span. This season alone, he racked up 13 sacks, 21.5 tackle for losses, 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles, en route to being the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Latu's pass rushing prowess is by far the most polished in his class, as he possesses an arsenal of pass rush moves including club chops, swims, and spin moves, to name a few. He's also a great athlete, posting elite speed and agility times of 1.62 in his 10-yard split and a 7.09 in the 3-cone drill, which ranked in the 88th and 85th percentile respectively. The primary concern that would otherwise cement Latu as a top defensive end in this draft is his extensive medical history. Originally playing for the Washington Huskies from 2020 to 2021, Latu suffered a neck injury that sidelined him for the final 4 games of his freshman year, as well as the entirety of the next season, which resulted in him being forced to medically retire from football. However, after getting other opinions, he transferred to UCLA and molded into the wrecking ball that he is today. With that being said, even with the medical history he has, Laiatu Latu is just too good of a football player to pass up, as he's the most polished pass rusher in this class who can instantly make an impact the moment he steps on the field. In round 2, we address the secondary by selecting safety Jaden Hicks out of Washington State. Behind Russ Yeats and new addition Cameron Curl, there really isn't that much depth other than late round selection and undrafted players Jason Taylor II and Tanor Ingle, which is a major concern Hicks can alleviate. At 6'2", 211, Hicks is an extremely well-rounded safety who can line up as a deep defender, in the box, or in the slot, depending on the down and distance. Last season, he accumulated 79 tackles, including 6 tackle for losses, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, including 1 pick 6, and a forced fumble, proving just how versatile he can be. His biggest calling card is his physicality on tackles, where he crashes downhill fast and sets the tone for the defense. He does, however, struggle a bit on short area quickness, and can bite on double moves in space. Overall, though, Hicks is a Swiss Army knife who can play all across the field, and give a boost to his Rams secondary. So with that, let's continue day 2 with a pair of 3rd round selections. With our 3rd round pick, we double dip in the secondary and take cornerback Renardo Green from Florida State. Part of an elite Seminoles defense that got snubbed from the college playoffs, the 6'1", 186 corner profiles as a press man corner who can play on the outside at the next level. As a 5th-year senior, Green tallied 43 tackles, 2.5 tackle for losses, half a sack along with 1 interception and a whopping 13 pass defenses in his final season in Tallahassee. Green is an extremely good athlete, posting an RAS score of 8.21 and has positional versatility, having played safety early on in his college career. His biggest attribute is his closing speed, allowing him to be physical at the catch point and break up passes. However, his aggressive playstyle could come back to bite him in the form of penalties, as the NFL isn't as lenient as the college level. Ultimately, if Tre'Davious White ends up on the PUP list or another corner goes down, Green is more than capable of playing at a high level for the Rams. With the 3rd round pick obtained from the Raheem Morris hiring, we grabbed quarterback Joe Milton III from Tennessee. With Stafford nearing the end of his storied career, the Rams have to start finding a signal caller of the future, and what better way to do that than to grab a high ceiling player who can sit behind Stafford and learn from him. Standing at 6'5" and 235 pounds, Milton likely has the strongest arms in his draft class, easily launching footballs 85 yards and over. He also poses a threat as a runner with his legs, recording a 4.65 40 time that ranked in the 93rd percentile at the position. The 24-year-old quarterback redshirted for Michigan for the majority of 3 seasons, before transferring to Tennessee for the past 3 years. As a full-time starter in 2023, he put up 2,813 passing yards to go along with a 20-5 touchdown to interception ratio, while also rushing for 299 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. Milton is still a raw player who definitely has room to grow, especially in the ball accuracy department, but with a head coach like Sean McVay who's consistently able to elevate and bring out the best in his players, Milton has a strong case to be the franchise quarterback of the future for this team. So with that, let's move on to day 3 of the draft. On day 3 of the draft, we once again go to the D-line and take defensive end Mohamed Kamra out of Colorado State. At 6'1", 248, Kamra is definitely undersized at the position. The what he lacks in size is made up with his speed and finesse at the line of scrimmage, which was evident from his 1.58 10-yard split time and 4.58 40-yard dash time that ranked in the 96th and 98th percentile. Being a smaller guy does have his upsides though, as they're generally going against offensive linemen who are much taller than them, thus giving them an advantage from a leverage standpoint. It's also the many reasons why a guy like Aaron Donald was able to dominate, even when he was quote-unquote undersized for the position. In 12 games last season, Kamra racked up 56 tackles, 17 of which were for a loss, to go along with 13 sacks, 1 pass defense, and 2 forced fumbles. Even as a 5th round pick, I can see Kamra getting on the field early and be part of the pass rush rotation, given how thin the group is, and help terrorize opposing quarterbacks as the season progresses. With our next 5th round pick, we strengthen the backfield with the selection of Isaiah Davis, the running back from South Dakota State. McVay has always had a thunder to his lightning in his backfield, using guys such as C.J. Anderson, Malcolm Brown, and Darrell Henderson, in tandem with the Kyron Williams and Todd Gurley's of the world. At 6'2", 218, Davis has a size to fit that role, though he isn't limited to just being an early down back. One of the most productive running backs in the country the past 2 years, Davis spearheaded an outside zone heavy South Dakota team that holds the longest win streak in the nation at 28, including back-to-back FCS titles. Last season he rushed for 1,578 yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground, while catching 23 passes for 199 yards through the air. The only blemish holding him back might be his 4.57 40-yard dash, though his blend of patience and power, along with ball security, having never fumbled on nearly 700 career carries, makes him a perfect fit for McVay's revamped run game that majors in the dual gap scheme and creates an electric 1-2 punch with Kyron Williams. With that, we move on to round 6, where the Rams have a ridiculous 4 selections. With the first of 4 picks in the 6th round, we shore up the interior of the offensive line with Wisconsin center Tanor Bortolini. At 6'4", 303, Tanor absolutely lit up the combine, recording a 1.68 10-yard split time as well as a 7.16 3-cone time that surpassed Jason Kelsey's golden threshold of 7.22, which both ranked in the 99th percentile at the position. His performance also gave him a raw athletic score that ranked 6th out of 1,434 qualifying guards since 1987, which is extremely impressive. The 2-year starter also offers positional versatility, having played over 150 snaps at every position on the offensive line except for left tackle. Bortolini will likely be a depth piece along the interior O-line early on, but his off-the-charts athleticism raises his ceiling tremendously, which is what you want to find in a late-round pick, who could eventually start for you down the road. The introduction of new kickoff rules by the league aims to reduce the number of fair catches and touchbacks. The return game will once again be a key part of football, which has gradually been phased out as player safety concerns have grown. With that being said, we're selecting wide receiver and return specialist Anthony Gould from Oregon State. At 5'8", 180, he has similar measurables to Brandon Powell, and can contribute as both a punt and kickoff returner, as he continues to hone in his skills as a slot receiver. His biggest attribute is likely speed, as he ran a 4.39 40-yard dash that tied for 6th at his position this year, which enabled him to bring back 2 punt returns for scores over the past 2 years. Given time, he can also develop into a deep threat guy, especially with Tutu Atwell being an unrestricted free agent next year. For now though, he'll likely be a core special teams guy who can provide juice in the return game, which is more important than ever before. With our next pick, we go to the 2nd level and take linebacker Jordan Magee out of Temple. At 6'1", 228, Magee's on the smaller side for an off-ball linebacker, though he makes up for that with elite athleticism. He scored above a 90th percentile in the 3 major categories of explosiveness, agility, and speed on every single drill at the combine, giving him an RAS score of 9.6. In terms of production, in 11 games last year he compiled 80 tackles with 14 for a loss, to go along with 3.5 sacks, 4 pass defenses, and a forced fumble. He'll likely be a contributor on special teams initially, but with the linebacker room being so thin, it wouldn't be hard to see him playing snaps on defense quickly. Shifting over to special teams, the kicking game has been problematic for the Rams, which is why we're taking kicker Will Reichard from Alabama. The 5th-year senior is the all-time leading scorer for the SEC with 247 points, and has been a model of consistency for the Crimson Tide. Reichard has made 295 out of 297 extra points, while posting an 84% field goal percentage over his career. He also held kickoff duties for the Tide, so in the event Ethan Evans goes down, he can fill that role as well. The intangible factor is what stands out to me the most, as he's played in countless high-pressure games, which is something you just can't teach. Overall, Reichard has a pretty good chance of beating out Tanor Brown, and provide the stability the Rams have been searching for in the kicking game. With our final pick, we return once again to the trenches and take D-tackle Gabe Hall from Baylor. At this point in the draft, we're looking for the most upside, and with Hall's exceptional athleticism, that fits the bill. At 6'6", 291 and 34.5-inch arms, he holds the tools to play at the pro level, and has experience playing from nose tackle all the way to the 5 technique. The top of the D-line group is highlighted by rookie phenom Kobe Turner and Bobby Brown III, but there really isn't that much depth behind them, making Hall a good depth piece as injuries are short to mount as the season progresses. To recap this massive 11-man draft class, with our first round pick we took one of the most polished pass rushers in UCLA defensive end Laiatu Latu. On day 2, we continued to bolster the defense by grabbing safety Jaden Hicks and cornerback Renardo Green in the 2nd and 3rd rounds respectively. We then pivot to offense and take a high-ceiling quarterback in Milton III with the final 3rd round pick, and with our pair of 5th round picks, we took defensive end Mohamed Kamra and running back Isaiah Davis. In round 6, we selected interior lineman Tanor Bortolini, receiver Anthony Gould, linebacker Jordan Magee, and kicker Will Reichard. And to top it all off, we took defensive lineman Gabe Hall in the 7th round. Let me know what you guys thought of these picks and who you would have taken instead. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.